Hey everyone. There's a video I've been wanting to do for a while, but haven't had a chance to. Been pretty busy. So it's a beautiful day outside, and I thought I'd take advantage of this day to talk about which car should you buy, the Model X or the Model S. Now, we didn't have to make a choice. Initially I bought my car, the Model S, and then a couple of months later we bought the Model X for my wife. But there are a lot of individuals out there that don't want both, two Teslas. They want just one, and they prefer to choose which one would be best for them. So today I'm going to go over what do's and don'ts, or what we do or don't like about each car, and you guys decide which ones will work best for you. So the Model S, it's a four-door sedan, very roomy. I like the car a lot. I have to be honest, I like the looks on the Model S very much. It reminds me of two vehicles that I really like, which is the Aston Martin Vanquish and the Audi A7. The wheels are standard wheels. So when I say standard, they're all the same size. So they can be rotated. They're 19-inch standard with the option of getting 21s. And it's very roomy. As we saw in a previous video, I was able to put all four tires in my car no problem by folding down the back seats. I'm 5'10", and I can easily fit in my car without issue. As you can see, I'm in my car, plenty of space, no problems. And if I move to the back seat, for someone that's 5'10", I actually have plenty of room. No problem at all. Enough knee space. Now, if for someone taller, let's say about 6 foot, so I'd say you lose 2 inches here, you would, from the front, you'd be fine. From the rear, it'd be a little tight. So I have some kids there, about 6 foot right now as teenagers, and they find the rear seat to be a little tight, a little uncomfortable, and they're still growing. So that was also one of the things we considered when purchasing the other car, was that we wanted something that was roomier for the rear passengers than what we already had. So, but for someone that's 6 foot, it's not uncomfortably tight, but it'll be a little tight. If you're sitting in the rear, in the front, you'll be fine. There's plenty of space. One thing I liked about the car, I love the panoramic roof, excuse me. But as I stated before, in the summertime, it gets really hot. So that's why I have these mesh nets I installed in a previous video to cool the car down. And it does cool the car down considerably compared to last year when I didn't have them. So if you're gonna get the all glass roof, keep that in mind, that you'd probably be better off getting the entire mesh, because depending on where you are, we're in the Northeast, so in summers they get hot, but not as hot as they do in Arizona or in the South. So I can imagine how hot it would be if you didn't have the mesh in those areas. So definitely consider getting the mesh if you're going to get the panoramic roof or the glass roof, the all glass roof. In regards to air conditioning, the rear passengers, it's very cool, it's comfortable back here. They have their own vents. Everything is controlled from the front, but they are able to be very comfortable. So my kids, they they will definitely let me know when they're not comfortable. And in terms of in the summertime being cool or in the wintertime being warm, it's not an issue. In regards to, as I was speaking before about cargo space, you can easily flip down the rear seats and have plenty of cargo space in here. So I just easily flipped down that seat and was able to access the trunk so you can slide things through. And just one feature that I really like about this car, I had previous cars and either the seat wouldn't go all the way down, they'd be a little bump, and this has a little bump, but this is flatter than, let's say, the Audis that I've had before. And you know, I'm a stickler for easy access, and reaching around and grabbing this little nozzle to lower the seat is very easy, and even closing it back up is very simple. The rear of this car is one item that I really like, not just because of the looks. I mean, it looks great and everything, but the wide open hatchback, I think, is one of the best parts of this car. There's a lot of space. It really makes accessing the trunk and placing things in the trunk very easy. And as you can tell here, when you move this shelf out the way, it's pretty simple to get to things. And also the compartment underneath is pretty wonderful. You know, I have different items down here for storage. And in my previous car, it was, you know, the trunks are pretty big, especially if you get like an Audi A6. The trunks can be large, but I like my trunk to be neat, as neat as possible. You know, nothing there, just putting my briefcase in the trunk when I'm going to work or a bag. And that's about it. So it keeps the trunk nice and simple and clean, and keeps stuff from rolling around in the back, which is something I can really appreciate. So once again, the Model S trunk space is pretty great. Now, the 75D. Now, as I stated before, we drive a lot. I drive a lot, and I drive my car mostly when I'm going back and forth to work. Sometimes I drive my wife's, but for the most part, I'm in this car. And, you know, my commute averages between 130 and 220 miles per day. So I know some of you are saying, well, which one should I get? Right now, they have the 75D and the 100D. Those are your two options. When I travel 130 miles, I can get from my home to my office and back home easily with 50 miles left. No problem. And that's even if I stop, you know, along the way or whatever, I still have 50 miles driving 130 miles. So I don't have to stop at a supercharger. I don't have to do anything. If I have to get sidetracked or whatever, you know, I'll stop at a supercharger if I know for like 10 minutes to get, 50 plus miles. If I know I'm going to have a little detour. But for the most part, I don't have to stop. When I drive that 220 miles, I do stop. I make one stop, and I don't fill the car up to 100%, even actually when I drive the 220. I try to keep it at 90%, and I'll go to my other office, I'll charge at lunch, and then I'll drive all the way back home. And even then, when I drive all the way back home, I'll get home with like about 70 miles, 60 or 70 miles. So even if you drive as much as I do, you really don't need the 100D. I find that, you know, it's great to have that much available, that much capacity, but in terms of need, you really don't need it. You can go to work and come back easily with the 75D, and so I would say get the 75D if you can. If you get the 100, you can get the 100D, or if you're in the market for a P100D and you're a driving enthusiast and you don't really care about capacity, you just want that car, then that's great. But for daily commutes, you know, you don't need more than the 75D. Now, recently it was announced that they're going to discontinue the 75 rear-wheel drive. Actually, I think I'm going to post this video today, and I think tomorrow is the last day. If you live in the Northeast, you definitely need the D. You need a dual drive. I can't stress that enough. If you don't have a dual drive, you get rear-wheel drive, you're going to have a lot of problems when the weather's bad. Now, if you have multiple cars and you're just getting this car, the summer car, then yeah, get the rear-wheel drive. But if it's something that you're going to drive all the time and this is going to be your main car, please do not get just the 75 rear-wheel drive. Now we're going to take a look at the Model X. It's Tesla's SUV. It can be either a 5, 6, or 7 passenger. We have the 6 passenger option, which means it has 2 captain chairs in the middle and a rear seat in the back that holds 2 to 3 people. It's really closer to 2 people. And it has the 4 tires on here are staggered. So as I mentioned in my tire video previously, these tires cannot be rotated. I think I said the wrong number on the last video. So these are 265 and 275 R20 all-season tires. They have foam in them, so it's pretty great. They can it definitely makes the ride quieter. But since they are staggered tires and you cannot rotate them, so when they wear, you have to change all 4 at the same time, which we're in the process of doing for this vehicle. Everything here is pretty much touch, including the doors. So, you know, if I touch the handle, it opens up. This truck also has the auto present feature, which means as you walk or approach the door, it will open up for you and close. To be honest, that feature is a little pain, especially in the garage, because every time you walk by the truck, the door tries to open. So we disable that feature. So once again, I am 5'10", and I'm just going to adjust this to my seating position, and there's plenty of room. It's pretty great. Let me just close the door. So I hit the brake and the truck is ready to go. It's not ready to go now because I have them plugged in, so of course it'll complain. That's what the noise is about. You can control everything from in here, so opening, closing all doors, including the Falcon wing doors. I'll be honest, the doors are nice. They draw a lot of attention, which we really don't like. We're pretty conservative people. The kids like it initially, but they're teenagers, so they're a little funny about drawing too much attention. The panoramic glass is great. It gives you a full view of the sky, but just like in the Model S, on very sunny days, it can get really, really hot. So we have this mesh here that my wife actually keeps up, and it helps a lot, just like it does in the Model S. This one we didn't actually have to purchase. This came with the vehicle, so all Model X's, they should give you this mesh with the vehicle, and I believe in the first versions of the Model X, a lot of customers complained about the sunlight, so they made this as a standard net for accessory that is given to you when you purchase a Model X. So when you purchase, if and when you purchase a Model X, make sure you get this because it should be included. The doors on these are very nice. I actually like the fact that at night it lights up here, as well as here with the premium package. Whereas in the Model S, it just lights up here, and that's it. These have the upgraded seats, so these seats are no longer available. These are heated and ventilated seats. And I have the next generation seats in my Model S because these seats weren't available when I purchased my vehicle. I do find these seats to be more comfortable than the next generation seats. Not to say next generation seats are bad. They are nice, comfortable seats. I just find these to be more comfortable. Also, this Alcantara here on the dash is no longer available. To be honest, I can take it or leave it. I like it. If it's not there, it doesn't really bother me. Either way, it's a great truck. So going back to seating positions, so I'm comfortably seated here. And as I stated before, my sons are close to 6 foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the Falcon wing door on the other side. So right behind me. And when I sit down here, I definitely have more space than I had in the Model X, Model S. There's definitely more leg room, and if a person in front of me was 6 foot and they need to move their seat back, I would still have plenty of space. So if you need more space, I highly recommend getting the Model X over the Model S for seating position only. For cargo space, the Model S is definitely more space than the Model X and the version that we have now. So we have the Model S X with the 6-seat position. So there's no middle seat. And we have 2 fold-down seats there. They're folded down right now. But comfortably, I think with young adults, tall kids, 5 adults even, if I put the rear seat up, which I'm going to, you'll have plenty of room. I'm going to move up this seat. And put one of these rear seats up. So you have to press this button right here. So it releases it, then you can lift it. So this is very comfortable back here. See, the seats on the Model X are just beautiful. I can't stress that enough. They have plenty of support, so I'm going to sit back here. Once again, move the seat back. And it's a little tight. It's a little tight back here. But the best part of having a 6-seat configuration is the space in the middle. So if I did sit back here, I can just extend my legs in the middle and have the space that I need. But if this was a 5 or a 7-seat configuration, I should say, which is the 3 in the middle and the 2 in the rear, I definitely at 5'10", I couldn't sit back here. It's way too tight. And that's if the person sitting in front of me, they can move their seat up a little bit, but even if they did, as you see, I can't even bring my knees up here. There's not enough room. So for maybe very small kids in the back, like most third-row seats, unless you get a full-size truck, that's going to be the case. But in the Model X, that's going to be a problem if you have young adults trying to sit them in the back seat, or the third row, I should say. So closing the Falcon wing doors is simple. I use my key. It closes up very easily. In regards to the trunk space, I do like the trunk space back here in the Model X, but as I stated earlier, it's nowhere near the capacity that we have on the Model S. So I still have that seat that I recently pulled up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower that seat. You just have to press, there's a button here, the same button I pressed earlier. So you press that, it releases it, and you push it down, and it's now closed. So the cargo space is pretty good. Once again, we have a previous version of the Model X. So the second row are captain's chairs. They're not flat chairs or bench chairs. I do like that very much. I think if you're going to get the 6-seat configuration, having the captain's chairs, it's very nice. Also, you see the back seats are glossy, and now on the new Model X's, they're flat. Either way, I don't mind. I think the flat version, if you have small kids, don't want any marks on the gloss, works well. But we've had this close to a year, and it's not an issue. The compartment at the bottom here is actually pretty good. So there is plenty of space here. It's actually deeper than it is in the Model S. So we can fit a lot more cargo in here. So if we go grocery shopping, we place a lot of items down here so they don't slide around in the back, specifically because we don't have a net back here to keep everything still. So it's just easier putting everything back here. And since there's so much space, it's not a problem. You know, even if you go to Whole Foods or Costco or BJ's, to fit everything down here easily. So just close that back up. Now, one thing we didn't get used to, we drove a lot for vacation. So we have a canopy that we used to keep on the back of our trucks previously. And as you know, you cannot put anything on top of this glass roof because of the Falcon wing doors. So you don't see it here because it's not installed yet, but we're going to install the accessory tow hitch at the back of this truck because, you know, we like to tow things around and still have the opportunity to travel via driving if we drive up and down the East Coast. So that option installed, I believe, is about $1,300. Before it wasn't available, so if you didn't get it from the factory, you could never get it. But they made it available later on, which I think is it's a good idea to have. You know, what's the use of having an SUV if you can travel with the family with it? So 90D. So this truck has a 90 kilowatt battery in it. Of course, they don't make the 90 kilowatt anymore. It's all 100D only. And I believe it's a 75D. Yeah, the 75D. So either 75 or 100D, just like the Model S. The 90D definitely makes a difference when it comes to acceleration. So with pickup, I definitely feel the difference in driving this truck compared to driving the car. Even though the truck is heavier, it's quicker than the 75D on the Model S. But surprisingly, the truck is heavier than the car. So I actually get the same mileage on the 75D Model S as I do on the 90D Model X. I think the rated EPA is 259 miles. So they both get 259 miles. And because of supercharging and everything else available, it's never a problem. My wife's round trip is roughly 150 miles going back and forth to work. So she charges at 90%. She's at 224 miles, roughly 225, and she can definitely go to work and come back and run errands just like I can on the 75D without stopping. So going back, if we had the 75D on the Model X, I don't think she could do that. Well, maybe she could, but it may be a stretch especially in the wintertime, which I'm going to get to in a second. So in regards to that, I would say getting the 90D was definitely a better option than getting the 75D in regards to the truck. Even though there was a price difference, it wasn't significant enough for us to say we shouldn't get the 90D. So I've tried to break down the differences between the cars, on a basic level. And just to note, both vehicles in the wintertime, you lose significant energy. So when I say significant, I would say about 50% energy in the wintertime over the spring and especially the summer. So please take that in consideration. If you're going to get a smaller battery thinking that, I'm going to save some money, you're going to stop a lot. Hopefully you buy superchargers to charge your vehicle. So the examples I used earlier where I drove to one of my offices and I started with 240 miles and then charged a little bit and then drove back and still had 60 or 70 miles. If in the dead of winter, if I drive to work, charge, and then drive back, I'm going to come back instead of with 60 or 70 miles, I'm going to come back with like 30 miles. And even when I arrive down there, the mileage is pretty low. So keep that in mind. In the Northeast, not only do you need dual drive, but you have to take consideration the effects of cold weather on the battery. Now, and if I had to choose, I'll be honest, if I had to choose between both vehicles, the selfish me would get the Model S because I like that vehicle very much. I like the way it looks. I like the way it drives. I've never been a fan of SUVs. And once again, it reminds me of two vehicles that I really like, especially the Audi A7. And the kids, I know they're tall. They would just have to deal with it. Just joking. I'm joking. They wouldn't have to deal with it. I'd have to move my seat up and be uncomfortable. The more practical vehicle would be the Model X. Not only if you have kids that are tall, but also if you have young kids, because there's definitely much more space for the passengers in the Model X than there is in the Model S. In terms of versatility, I think the Model X gives you more versatility in terms of what you can do, getting around, capacity, even the capacity all the way in the trunk with the cargo space underneath the trunk mat. You see there's more space back there. So for a family, I say the Model X is definitely a better option. And in regards to pricing, I know the pricing on both vehicles are significantly different. We purchased inventory cars, and I saved a little bit, maybe like $3,000 to $5,000 on my vehicle because I bought it inventory. But on a Model X, we really lucked out. We saved approximately, let's say $12,000 because we bought an inventory vehicle. And there's nothing wrong with the vehicle at all. It was just, I guess, luck. We just got there in the right place, right time, and the individual that ordered the vehicle wasn't able to pick it up, and the dealer was willing to give us a great deal. I shouldn't say deal, I apologize. Tesla was able to give us a great deal on the vehicle, and I'm glad they did. So I would say for a family, the Model X. Young kids, teenage kids, the Model X is a great vehicle. For couples or individuals with small kids, the Model S is nice, but getting kids out of the Model X is definitely easier, especially small kids. Out of the Model X is easier, and it's I just think for a family of 4 plus, you're better off getting a Model X than the Model S. And so that's it. If you're interested in purchasing new or inventoried Model X or Model S, I have a referral, and it'll be in the notes field. You can either use the link to save $1,000 and also get unlimited supercharging, or you can use the code at the local Tesla dealer. I hate saying the term dealer. At the local Tesla gallery, and they will use that code to give you $1,000 off and unlimited supercharging. Once again, supercharging is no longer unlimited anymore if you purchase these vehicles. So you would have to pay for it. You get 1,000 miles per year roughly, and then after that you have to pay. But why deal with that? You can have unlimited supercharging by using my referral, and that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a note or message me, and I'll try my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. Take care.